Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining our joint crediting mechanism webinar entitled Innovation for Carbon Neutrality through JCM. I'm your host, Kaoru Yamaguchi from Global Environment Center Foundation. We're very pleased to hold JCM webinar for this year for Thailand again, and I would like to welcome everyone for joining us today's event. Now, before we actually start the webinar, I'd like to just share a few announcements with the audience. The first item is interpretation. To listen to the simultaneous interpretation in Thai and in English, please use the interpretation option located on the menu bar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you wish to not hear an interpretation, you can do so by selecting off. And by selecting mute original audio, you can choose to hear just the interpreter's voice. The second item is Q&A. During this webinar, we will be holding 2 Q&A sessions. So I'd like to encourage everyone to send us any questions through the Q&A feature, also on the Zoom menu bar on the bottom of your Zoom screen. 2 things when you send us questions that I'd like to our audience to remember. The first thing is to write your questions in English. And then the second thing is please write the name of the speaker that your question is for, so that we'll know who to address when we take up your questions. The last item is about questionnaire. Towards the end of this webinar today, we will be posting a URL to a questionnaire about today's webinar on the chat feature, also on the menu bar of Zoom screen. This is so that we can hear directly from you about what you think about today's webinar. We'll use this information to improve our future events. So I'd like to ask everyone to take just a minute to answer it, and we will very much appreciate your feedback. So with that, I'd like to now officially open the webinar. Opening remarks. The first speaker for the opening remarks is Mr. Chiangmai, but unfortunately he's yet to join us yet. So I'd like to first introduce Mr. Toru Terai. He is the first secretary at Embassy of Japan in Thailand for the opening remarks. So Mr. Terai, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Kun Kechai from TGO, I think he will join us soon. Kimura-san from JEC, Asuda-san and other colleagues from MOEJ, and all the participants. Good afternoon. It is my great honor to say some words in the beginning of this webinar on the Joint Crediting Mechanism implementation in Thailand 2021. Needless to say, the problem of climate change is one of the most important emerging issues we have to solve by any means. We have a lot of serious disasters related to climate change every year. And last month, IPCC published a new report which clearly pointed out that it is unequivocal that human influence has warmed the atmosphere, ocean, and land, and human-induced climate change is already affecting many weather and climate extremes in every region across the globe. Japan aims to reduce the emission of GHG by 46% by 2030 and to be carbon neutral by 2050. In order to achieve these goals, the government of Japan is doing its best, including amendment of the Act on Promotion on Global Warming Countermeasures in last May, and promotion of green growth. In Thailand, it is also the case. The government of Thailand is said to be considering its long-term strategy, and the Climate Change Act is also under consideration. In addition, the Prime Minister Prayut strongly promotes BCG economy, which is a bioeconomy, circular economy, and green economy in recovering from the pandemic of COVID-19. Thailand and Japan have long-term diplomatic relationship for more than 130 years. Now, Japan is the biggest foreign investors in Thailand, and there are many Japanese companies running their businesses in this country. This means that the potential for both countries to cooperate to reduce GHG emission is quite high. Actually, the data shows this. In 2015, both countries signed on the MOU and started JCM. Since then, many projects have been implemented in this country, and now Thailand is the biggest host countries of JCM projects all over the world. Achieving net zero target is not an easy task for both countries. It requires efficient and effective investment for green and clean industries. I strongly believe that JCM will be a chance for both countries to do so. I believe that today's webinar will be successful and will enhance our cooperation further in order to achieve net zero target in both countries. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Terai, for very encouraging opening remarks. I have good news. Mr. Kiachai Matriong has joined us, so I'd like to introduce him. Mr. Kiachai Matriong, he's Executive Director at Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, TGO. Mr. Matriong, welcome, and the microphone is yours.
Sorry to be late. Mr. Turo Terai, First Secretary, Embassy of Japan in Thailand. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, or TGO, I would like to warmly welcome you to the webinar on the Joint Crediting Mechanism, or JCM, that is implementation in Thailand regarding innovation for carbon neutrality through JCM. I would like to thank Ministry of Environment of Japan and Global Environment Center Foundation for organizing this webinar and inviting us as a co-host. With regard to JCM, Thailand get low carbon technologies penetration through JCM's projects, which are supported by Japanese government. After the Thai government signed the bilateral agreement on the JCM with the Japanese government on November 19, 2015, we have 39 projects have received financial support up to 50% of their capital investment costs from the Japanese government, with more than 2,000 million baht. Among the 39 projects, 20 projects are on energy demand, and 19 projects are on renewable energy projects. The expected greenhouse gas emission reduction is about calculated to allow 200,000 tons carbon dioxide per year. These agendas of these webinars cover a wide range of content relating to both carbon neutralities and the successful stories of implementation of JCM project, which accelerated the penetration of advanced low carbon technology to Thailand. In conclusion, let me express my sincere thanks to all the participants for your interest and participation. I hope that this webinar will be fruitful and productive. Thank you for your kind attention. สวัสดีครับ
Thank you very much for the very kind opening remarks, Mr. Maitriyong. And now with that, we're moving on to session 2, information sharing on the JCM progress. And I'd just like to remind our audience that for this session, we'll be taking questions from our audience. Our first guest speaker is Mr. Shogo Masuda. He's a Deputy Director at Office of Market Mechanisms, Climate Change Policy Division, Global Environmental Bureau at the Ministry of the Environment, Japan, with a presentation entitled Recent Development of Joint Credit Mechanism. Mr. Masuda, over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me clear and well?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. Great. See you. こんにちは。こんにちは。サワディーカー。Hello everyone. This is Shogo Masuda from Ministry of the Environment of Japan. Thank you very much for all the effort for this webinar to be held, and hope everyone is fine and okay under this global pandemic period. Today, I would like to introduce joint crediting mechanism briefly, and I'd like to take your comments and questions afterwards. Next slide, please. This is a basic concept of the JCM. The market mechanism includes JCM was attributed under the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, and it is expected to conclude the Paris Rulebook include Article 6 as a COP26 in this year. The market mechanism includes JCM is not only for GHG emission reduction, but also for the sustainable development of the partner countries, including Thailand. Under the JCM, Japan supports JCM partner countries by providing decarbonizing technologies together with operating joint committee to examine its GHG emission reduction to share the credit in future. The JCM itself is not only providing decarbonizing technologies for partner countries, but also for emission reduction, but also contribute Japan and partner countries NDC emission reduction target in line with the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. MOEJ is currently strengthening the JCM framework, and this will be mentioned later. Next slide, please. This slide shows 17 JCM partner countries so far, including Thailand, and expecting more to join in near future. Next slide, please. This is the latest JCM model project distribution map in worldwide. Our JCM partners are mainly located in India-Pacific region, where Japan also locates. Since 2013, there are approximately 200 plus projects to be made within this year. And the total accumulated GHG reduction by 2030 will be around 20 million tons of CO2. Next slide, please. For your better understanding of the JCM model projects, there are some of the concrete examples made under JCM. There has been provided a variety of decarbonizing technologies in line with partner countries' needs. The red-colored projects are Thai's JCM model projects, example namely energy-saving facilities, cogeneration facilities, solar PVs, which have been facilitated by Japanese and Thailand's partner private entities collaboration. Japan not only supports this collaboration by providing decarbonizing technologies, but also support measurement, reporting, and verification, MRV, of the GHG emission reduction in quantitative manner, together by forming joint committee with the partner countries. Next slide, please. The major decarbonizing technologies supported by JCM are renewable energy and energy efficiency. However, together with the expansion and development of the JCM, there has been emerging other areas such as waste management and transport and so on. Next slide, please. There are currently 45 JCM model projects in Thailand, together with 7 new projects newly selected in this fiscal year. Renewable energy projects account for the largest proportion, followed by energy efficiency improvement projects. Next slide, please. Regarding Japan's GHG reduction targets, Japan is currently reviewing its plan for global warming countermeasures, including the use of JCM. The plan is currently under the public consultation process and to be concluded by the cabinet decision by this October. The draft plan stated cumulative GHG emission reduction target by JCM to be about 100 million tons of CO2 by 2030. This is 2 times more than former target. To achieve this target, MOEJ is currently strengthening the JCM framework with more financial support. Next slide, please. MOEJ provides financial support for JCM model project, which could provide to international consortiums, together with Japanese private entities, up to half of the decarbonizing technology investment cost with certain limitation. The budget number mentioned in this slide is this fiscal year's one, and it is expected to be more in next fiscal year as the target of the JCM has been changing, as I mentioned earlier slide. This financial support scheme, together with some concrete cases, will be introduced further by Japan's Global Environmental Center Foundation, GEC, JEC, in today's webinar. Next slide, please. MOEJ also provides JCM Eco-Lease scheme, which supports for leasing decarbonizing technologies facilities. The eligibility of the scheme for already methodology approved decarbonized technologies such as photovoltaic and energy efficiency equipment with shorter period of MRB and simplified process of application, which means less burden for the international consortium of Japan and Thailand private entities. Next slide, please. MOEJ also provides JCM F-gas recovery and destruction model project scheme, which supports for recovery and destruction of fluorocarbon gases, F-gas, which is one of the greenhouse gases. Next slide, please. Financial support scheme for JCM is not only formed by Japan's government, but also led by Asian Development Bank. Trust fund contributed from Japan government for JCM has been set in ADB, and the fund has been providing financial support for the ADB's financial projects. Next slide, please. So this is a very brief introduction of the JCM. Thank you very much for your time and looking forward to hearing your comment and questions from all of you. ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Mr. Masuda, for the very comprehensive overview of JCM. And as he said, we welcome any questions about JCM during this session. So please do not hesitate to send us questions through the Q&A. Next guest speaker is Dr. Patipa Raktikun. She is a Director of Project Evaluation and Approval Office at Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, TGO, with the presentation entitled Thailand's Policy for Carbon Neutrality and Expectations for JCM. So with that, Dr. Raktikun, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Let me share the screen. First of all, I would like to thank you, Ministry of Environment, Government of Japan, and GEC for giving opportunity for TGO to share with you the information about Thailand policy for carbon neutrality and expectation for JCM. For the first slide, I would like to share with you Thailand greenhouse gas situation and emission target of NDC. Total greenhouse gas emission, excluding those from LULUCF, increased from 246 million ton carbon dioxide equivalent in 2000 to 354.4 million ton carbon dioxide equivalent in 2016, with an average annual increase of 2.31%. The net removal of carbon dioxide increased from 62 million ton carbon dioxide equivalent to 91 million ton carbon dioxide equivalent in 2016. Net greenhouse gas emission therefore increased from 183.8 million ton carbon dioxide equivalent in 2000 to 263.2 million ton carbon dioxide equivalent in 2016, with an average annual increase of 2.27%. From this slide, you will see that the projected BAU will be 555 in 2030, and Thailand intends to reduce its greenhouse gas emission by 20% from the projected BAU by 2030. So this one is the target for Thailand to reduce greenhouse gas emission. The major source of emission is energy sector is account about 72%, and after that IPPU is about 8.9%, agriculture is 14.7%, waste is 4.7%, and LULUCF is 25.7%. For long-term low greenhouse gas emission development strategy, Thailand through Office of Natural Resources, Environmental Policy and Planning, or ONEP, which is the focal point to UNFCCC, is in the process of formulating a long-term low greenhouse gas emission development strategy, which will guide Thailand toward a climate resilient and low greenhouse gas emission development and serve as a basis for enhancing its subsequent NDC and also the future scenario in 2050. The long-term strategy will be submitted to UNFCCC for communication within 2021. For Thailand carbon neutrality target, the National Energy Committee meeting on 4th of August 2021, which chaired by General Prayut Chan-o-cha, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand, approved the framework of National Energy Plan, which aims to promote clean energy and move Thailand toward a carbon neutrality in year 2065 to 2070. For Thailand carbon neutrality target, we intend to announce in COP26. For policy direction of National Energy Plan is increase the proportion of the new electricity generation to at least 50% of renewable energy, change the use of transportation in the transport sector to green electricity with EV technology according to policy 30/30. It's about manufacturing capacity of ZEV at least 30% of total capacity in 2030. Furthermore, we will increase energy efficiency by more than 30% by applying modern energy management technology and innovation, and also restructuring the energy industry to support energy transition toward according to the 4D1E guideline, including decarbonization, digitalization, decentralization, deregulation, and electrification. To achieving carbon neutrality and net zero emission, we have to reduce greenhouse gas emission and also increase the greenhouse gas removal or carbon sink. We encourage private sector to plant the tree in the government land to increase the carbon sink in our country. I have to say that this slide is the unofficial figures. It's just a preliminary study. If you would like to move to carbon neutrality and net zero emission for carbon neutrality in 2065 to 2070, we have to reduce the greenhouse gas from energy sector from 237.9 to 86 million ton carbon dioxide equivalent, and also other sector we have to reduce significantly, and we have to increase the carbon sink in the LULUCF sector. This slide also show the preliminary assessment from TGO staff. If we would like to go to carbon neutrality scenario in 2065, we have to reduce the greenhouse gas emission in the energy sector and also other sector as well, and increase the carbon sink to 120. This slide shows the scenario for 2070. The number is similar, but we postponed to 2020. This slide shows Thailand possible climate mitigation option. There are many mitigation measures that we will implement to move Thailand to carbon neutrality. For energy and transportation, we will fade out coal from power and industrial, increase renewable energy share and import hydropower, promote use of EV and fade out ICE, improve energy efficiency, develop hydrogen technology, and also possibility of CCUS technology. For IPPU, there are measures such as promote uses of hydraulic cement, use of alternative low carbon fuel for industry, use of low GWP refrigerant. For agriculture, there are some measures such as no open burning and recovery of biomass energy, smart farming, use of organic fertilizer, biogas energy from livestock. For forest and land use, we will increase afforestation and reforestation project, soil carbon in practice, carbonization in basal layer. And for waste, there are some mitigation measures such as waste minimization and circular economy. Recently, TGO launched the program called Thailand Carbon Neutral Network. This will support carbon neutrality by voluntary action. We invite private sector and public sector to engage in Thailand Carbon Neutral Network. There are two categories. One is the climate action leading organization that they have the pathway to move to carbon neutrality, and also climate action innovator that develop the greenhouse gas emission reduction project. We would like the climate action leading organization to move to carbon neutrality and have pathway to carbon neutrality. They have to reduce greenhouse gas emission by themselves, and some part they can use the crediting carbon credit for offsetting. Right now there are 117 organizations that join Thailand Carbon Neutral Network. For the JCM project, this slide we got this slide from MOEJ since February 2021. We see that the JCM will support this kind of technology, and we think the low carbon advanced technology will help Thailand to move to carbon neutrality in energy efficiency sector or renewable energy, such as the advanced technology such as CCS. Right now we don't have the project in CCS, so in the future if we have this kind of project or other kind of project, it will support our country to move to carbon neutrality. So we hope that we will get the support for JCM Model Project and develop as JCM project. Thank you. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raktikun, for that very comprehensive introduction to Thailand's policy on carbon neutrality. I think there was a lot of sectors that need the most GHG reduction or abatement, such as the energy sector and transport. I think there was a lot of overlap with the JCM, and I think there's a lot of chance and opportunities to create synergy there to meet Thailand's NDC and other carbon neutrality goals. So with that, I'd like to introduce next guest speaker, Mr. Hiroshi Takahashi. He is a director at Financing Program Group at Global Environment Center Foundation with a presentation entitled Financing Program for JCM Model Projects. Mr. Takahashi, over to you.
Okay, thank you for your kind introduction. Do you see my screen properly?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
we see it. Yeah, thanks.
All right, let me start. Sawadee krap. Good afternoon. This is Hiroshi Takahashi of Global Environment Center Foundation, or GEC. We act as an implementing organization for financing program of JCM Model Projects, which is one of actions to tackle pressing issue of global warming. I'd like to express my deep gratitude to have this opportunity, and I'm willing to talk about outline of this scheme and some key points for this year's model project. These are the features of JCM Model Project. Project participants need to form an international consortium with entities in both Japan and in Thailand to implement project smoothly. It is subsidized for equipment or facilities that directly contribute to emission reduction of greenhouse gas. The project is required to finish installation within 3 years. There are some criteria about maximum percentage of financial support and cost effectiveness, and I will refer them later. This is the basic policy for JCM Model Project this year. It is based on Japan's strategy for overseas expansion in the environmental field and 2025 strategy for overseas expansion of infrastructure system. Both are decided by MOEJ. So JCM Model Projects support facilitating diffusion of advanced decarbonizing technologies and partner countries' infrastructure, as well as implementation of mitigation action. These are the requirements for JCM Model Project. This is the timeline for the model project for this fiscal year. We opened the call for the proposal from 7th April. The call was closed beginning of this month, about 2 months earlier from we originally planned, as we received many excellent proposals and the budget is not available as the result of the selection. We announced the result of the first selection on 29th June, and today we will announce the result for the second selection at about 2 p.m. It will be soon. From here, I will refer some point about criteria for the model project. We consider this criterion of cost effectiveness, that is finance versus amount of greenhouse gas emission reduction, important to dispatch limited budget efficiently or effectively for excellent project. We set this value less than 4,000 yen or about $40. Recently, there is a lot of proposals for certain technologies in some countries. If the number of applied technologies exceed 5 in a country, this value decreases to about $30. And if the number exceeds 10, it diminishes to about $25. Solar power project in Thailand is for this. This is for as many participants are able to use this scheme as possible. This is a table of applied technologies for each partner country. Based on this number of projects on the table, maximum financial support is limited. If proposed technology is the first one, the maximum financial support is up to 50% of total cost of a project. The rate goes down by the number of already applied technologies for each country. This is because the first one has the greatest impact in terms of diffusion of technology, and as a newly introduced, then the second and the third. The model project should contribute to the sustainable development for the partner country. We review projects as they contribute to sustainable development goals. JCM Model Project reduces greenhouse gas emission. So basically work for it and contribute to sustainable society. This seat is an example as possible contribution of renewable energy project to SDGs. Solar power project is very popular in JCM Model Project. it counts the highest number among variety of proposed technologies. We welcome this renewable energy project as good energy source replacing fossil fuel. On the other hand, we need to confirm that the proposed technology is advanced one. So we set the condition for a photovoltaic module of its conversion rate from optical to electric energy to 20% or higher. Although a lot of solar power project has been selected, there is still room to increase total performance for these systems. One such way is to employ battery or electric accumulator in a system. We would like to promote this category by making conditions clear for a participant applying the technology. These are the points we require for this technology. We improve this scheme of JCM Model Project every year to accept variety of projects in many fields and business area. So this is the JCM Equity scheme, which is introduced already by MOEJ. This is one of this approach, newly introduced scheme in 2020, which is dedicated for leasing business to use this financial support conveniently. And there's a uniform finance support of 10%, which is of project cost, which is lower than the general project. The merit of this is shorter obligation period of monitoring and simple documentation to apply easily. So we have several proposals using this scheme in Thailand this year. Again, we improved the scheme to create more opportunities for many business partners to join. In this tough situation of COVID-19, we accepted many excellent projects. These are the projects for the first selection of this year. Colored cells is a project in Thailand. I will briefly explain them by next slide. This is the project for the first selection in Thailand. Osaka Gas, who is major energy company in Japan, is newly selected representative participant. We will support them till they complete the project and start operation. One through boiler could save energy greatly for its energy efficiency of 98%. This type of boiler is now popular in Japan, and we hope this project contribute to the diffusion of this technology in Thailand. One of the new technology we selected this year is this thermal oil heater in Indonesia by Fumakira, who is one of famous insecticide and repellent manufacturer. To produce their main product of mosquito coil or repellent, high and stable temperature is required for production, and this oil heater works well. This is a technology for production, and I think it could be applied for many factories or plants in Thailand. This map shows all the projects supported by JCM financing program, adding new selection. Till now, total more than 200 projects have been selected all over the world. JCM Model Project started in 2013 and has been stacking projects every year. This figure gives you overview of the number of projects from back to front by year and horizontally by partner countries are in line. This chart shows an accumulated number by sector of energy saving. It's a blue one, renewable energy, orange one, and others. As a recent trend, number of renewable energy projects has been increasing. It adds up to 105. In this renewable energy sector, photovoltaic system counts the most of 82 projects, more than 82% for all partner countries. The second count is mini hydro system, then biopower generation. In this sector, we recently added wind power and geothermal power generation system as new technologies. We anticipate to have more proposals and add variation in these fields. This is the technology trend by sector in Thailand. Renewable energy project, orange color, has been increasing. We also continue to support to create new projects in other sectors of energy efficiency, transportation, and waste to energy. In many areas, the technology of model project has been applied. Lighting in retail store, solar power system on a shopping mall, heat pump in hotel, and variety of production equipment in factories in industrial field. We have already introduced many systems for utility field. As also in transportation area. As you can see with these pictures, JCM Model Project is effective for international promotion of infrastructures and variation of technology supported is getting diverse. So you have a lot of opportunity to make use of this model project to reinforce infrastructure in Thailand. COVID-19 imposes trying time to people in Japan, people in your country, and everyone around the world. JCM model projects also have been affected by this pandemic. These are the points that is causing influences for the project. Project participants try hard to complete their project on time, even in this pandemic. We have to support participants toward completion of their project successfully. We could keep our activity going even in this restricted environment, holding meeting, consultation, and seminar online like this moment. It is true that COVID-19 limits us. However, we keep our activity going by these alternative or recovering ways, not to deter action of greenhouse gas emission reduction for our precious environment. So that's all from me. Open clap.
Thank you very much, Mr. Takahashi, for the comprehensive introduction of JCM program. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Nanako Oyama. She's Assistant Manager at Financing Group at Global Environment Center Foundation to give you a presentation entitled Financing Program for JCM Model Projects and JCM Global Match. With that, Ms. Oyama, you have the floor.
Thank you for your kind introduction. So firstly, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Nanako from JIC. Let me give you a brief introduction on the JCM Global Match. So JCM Global Match is a tool to find your future business partners. JCM participants can be simply categorized by these 4 types. And I'm assuming that many of you who are participating in this webinar are like the person on the right upper side, a person who wants to acquire decarbonizing facilities or technologies to the JCM partner countries. So in this platform, you might talk to what we call sellers who are offering decarbonizing facilities or technologies. Also, you would talk to a consultant who is familiar with the JCM program, and also a financier who can support your project financially. So why don't you talk to them, like, could you tell us about your products, or what are our weak points to realize the project when you see someone on the platform? So communications between users, as I introduced in the previous slide, can be realized via these features on this platform. There are 7 features. By utilizing this website, actually, many companies have found each other, made matches, and some have been selected as the JCM Model Projects. Firstly, let me tell you about features to find your partner. This is one of the features to find your partner, search engine. After you created your account and logged in, if you enter some keywords in the search window, you will see results you are looking for. For example, if you enter Thailand, you will see one of topics of discussion and some other users' names according to the keyword. Also, you can search with names of technologies such as PV or hydropower, or names of industries such as consultant or finance. To find your partner, you will also have a function called open discussion. There are 2 ways to enter the open discussion, either from country or technology. Here, you can pause topics to ask questions or just to call your partner. You also can leave your comments on a topic which other users have already left. The next, I'll talk about a function to deepen your project, invitation salon. If you find some potential partners via search engine or open discussion, you can discuss in invitation salon, which is a private chat room. This is a function to discuss in a group with limited people privately. The design of invitation salon is like this. If you create an invitation salon, invite members you would like to talk with privately, and deepen your idea only with the limited numbers of people. Thirdly, I'll show you functions to promote yourself. In order to promote yourself, a function called My Company's Specialty is useful. You can appeal or promote both what you would like to offer or would like to acquire. Of course, you can browse other users' specialties list through menu bar on top or through icons of 4 types of participants on the top page. You will see what other members are willing to offer or acquire in detail. Lastly, let me show you the rest of the functions to have individual communications, matching, and scheduled meetings. When you find someone you would like to deepen your discussion and communicate one-on-one, please send a matching request. By sending a matching request, you can show your interest to the person directly, and after your request accepted, you can exchange your email addresses each other, use a one-on-one chat feature on the website, and also you can apply for a meeting after the JCM webinars with your matched person. So another function to have individual communications is scheduled meeting. If you see JCM webinars announcement in the upcoming events, you can apply for a meeting with a matched person. So that was all of brief information of the JCM Global Match. For more information of each feature, we have how to use pages on the menu bar. There are not only feature summary, but also tips and next action to take as a suggestion. Anyway, see you soon on the JCM Global Match via the URL shown above or QR code, which will take you to the top page. Thank you, Kopen Cup.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aoyama, for the introduction of JCM Global Match. Indeed, we welcome everyone to take a look and sign up if you haven't done so already. It's a great place to meet other organizations and companies who are interested in using JCM to implement a project. So last speaker for this session is Mr. Ryo Kubo. He is a senior manager at Financing Program Group at Global Environment Center Foundation, with a presentation entitled Financing Program to Demonstrate Decarbonization Technology for Realizing Co-Innovation and Pilot Project for Comprehensive Support Throughout the Whole Hydrogen Supply Chain Abroad. So with that, Mr. Kubo, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Kaoru-san. Sawadee ka. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ryo Kubo from GEC. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to introduce two financial support programs. Let me share my presentation slide. So firstly, a financial program to demonstrate decarbonization technology for realizing co-innovation. Secondly, a pilot project for comprehensive support throughout the whole hydrogen support chain abroad. As Masuda-san explained, JCM financial scheme actually consists of three programs. The first one is financial program for JCM Model Projects. I guess many people know this, and Takashi-san already explained. And so I would like to inform you about the second one and the third one in this presentation. The second one is financial program to demonstrate decarbonization technology for realizing co-innovation, which is focusing on innovation and partnerships. The third one is pilot project for comprehensive support throughout the whole hydrogen supply chain abroad. What is the difference from financial program for JCM Model Projects? Financing program for JCM Model Projects are expected to contribute to achieving Japanese GHG emission reduction target. On the other hand, co-innovation and hydrogen projects are support for pilot or demonstration projects, and maybe we may say they are expected to raise the future JCM model projects. About the budget, it is about 8.8 billion Japanese yen approximately. It's approximately 88 million US dollars for three programs. 83 million US dollars is for JCM model projects, including co-innovation program. 5 million US dollars for hydrogen program. So now let's move on to co-innovation program and the details. This financing program aims to contribute to creating a decarbonized society through renovation and the dissemination of high-quality decarbonization technologies, to create innovation beneficial for both Japan and the partner countries through collaboration. That's the reason why we are core on innovation. Then, to contribute to fulfill the aim of a greenhouse gas reduction in Japan through the joint crediting mechanism, to bring benefits to the technology developers in Japan and the result. Participants must organize the international consortium that consists of representative participant and partner participant. Representative participant is a Japanese entity, and partner participant is a partner country entity. Scope of work of representative participant includes, for example, the applicant for this program as a single window to us, I mean Global Environment Center Foundation. Facilities and equipment introduced with using this financial support must be managed by the representative participant throughout legal service time. Scope of work of partner participant includes cooperation with representative participant, operation and management of facilities and equipment at site to provide information to us. Project implementation period shall be within 3 years. Application documents must be submitted in the first fiscal year. Ratio of financial support depends on the company size and the project cost. If the representative participant is a small or medium-sized enterprise, the ratio is 2/3. For the case that the representative participant is larger, if project cost per fiscal year exceeds 100 million yen, it's about $1 million. The ratio is half. If project cost per fiscal year does not exceed 100 million yen, the ratio is 1/3. The next slide shows eligible technologies for co-innovation program. This financial program is intended for renovation and demonstration of decarbonizing technologies that reduce energy-related CO2 emissions. So eligible technologies are contributing to the reduction of energy-related CO2 emission through waste management in partner countries. The reduction of CO2 emissions from the transport, household, or business sectors and other in partner countries. The promotion of renewable energy using solar, wind, geothermal, or hydroelectric power generation. Transformation of social system of partner countries into decarbonizing ones. The reduction of energy-related CO2 emissions other than the above cases. The next slide shows eligible costs for co-innovation program. Firstly, costs must be directly required to implement the project. The detailed costs are machinery and equipment, erection and installation, ancillary work, survey and test, facilities and instruments, including monitoring system, and administrative work. The next slide shows an example of a demonstration project in Thailand. In the next session, Harata-san from Tube Electric Power Mirais gives a presentation regarding this project. So I just talk about it briefly. This project aims to reduce CO2 emissions by energy saving of compressors in manufacturing factories with using IoT. One of important points is that this project aims to improve the energy saving capabilities of facility managers. The next slide shows the other example of demonstration project in Thailand. It is about development of energy saving of wastewater treatment system by Hanshin Engineering Company. They have the product which they made mechanical aeration and agitation into one package. For the difference of quality of wastewater from Japan, they renovated suction for contaminants and motor bearing and its cooling structure. Also, as a fundamental performance up, they also improved air supply function. Regarding the background, please see the map. In this region, water supply coverage ratio is 81.9%. In contrast, sewage coverage, wastewater side, is only 9.6. That's the reason why they proposed this project. The next slide shows the last example of demonstration project in Thailand, which is developing and demonstration of small-scale seawater desalination system operated by a photovoltaic power proposed by Toyobo Engineering. This project aims to supply safe and domestic water to island areas and coastal areas where not enough water supply and electricity infrastructure. So seawater desalination system is composed of RO, it means reverse osmosis, its membrane module, which is their key product. Also filters. So in this project, specific point is power is supplied by renewable. Okay, next we come to whole hydrogen supply chain program. This program has started from this fiscal year. This program aims to support pilot or demonstration projects to contribute to produce and storage renewable hydrogen in a third country, which has excess renewable energy, and transport the hydrogen to use in island countries, and to cultivate demand market by supplying renewable hydrogen to island countries, which will lead to JCM Model Projects and help developing countries transition to a decarbonized society. So we consider a whole hydrogen supply chain consists of 3 processes. The first one is to produce hydrogen by using surplus renewable energy in a third country. The second one is to storage in some kind of carrier, such as liquid hydrogen, ammonia, hydrogen absorbing alloy, and transport. The last one is to supply and use in island countries. Then future vision of this program is to realize JCM model projects and horizontal expansion. To implement this demonstration project, participants need to organize an international consortium consists of 3 parties, whereas 2 parties for co-innovation program. Representative participant is a Japanese company. Its scope of work is same as the co-innovation program. Both of third country company and the partner country company need to join the international consortium as a partner participant. Their scope of work is also same as co-innovation program. Next slide is a brief outline of financial support. Budget for project for this year is approximately $5 million. Ratio of financial support is 50% of costs eligible for financing. Costs eligible for financing are same as the cost of co-innovation program. Next slide is the information about period. Implementation period of this project is within 3 fiscal years. On the other hand, period of financing support is 1 fiscal year. To manage this difference, we request applicants to submit 2 different types of application documents for the following evaluations. First one is application for evaluation of adoption is required only 1 time and need to describe the plan for the entire period. Next one is application for evaluation of content is required every year. For example, if you propose a project for 3 fiscal years, the first year you have to submit 2 applications, 1 for adoption, 1 for contents. But the second and the third year, you don't need to application for the adoption. You only need it for the contents. Okay, this is all for my presentation. Kapun Kap, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kubo, for the very comprehensive presentation on co-innovation and hydrogen programs. Now we are on to the Q&A section of this section of the webinar. And I'd like to, so I see that we received some questions on the Q&A feature. And thank you for all the questions. I'd like to sort of incorporate all the questions that came to us in this Q&A session. But I'd like to first start with asking Mr. Masuda from the Ministry of the Environment, Japan, to sort of introduce or maybe walk us through the MOEJ initiative for decarbonized infrastructure. I think it has a lot of relevancy to JCM, and perhaps you can talk about some of the areas or sectors that the ministry think it's more valuable, important in terms of achieving decarbonizing infrastructure in the future. So if you could address that, please go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. That Minister of the Environment, Japan's decarbonizing infrastructure is led by our Minister Koizumi, as we announced in last June. And that is one of the basement of our current consideration for the new plan for global climate action plan that states a new target for JCM. So that initiative is not led by Japanese government itself, but led by our ministry. And that has been led those arguments for the JCM new target to be coming by next month, I think. And that initiative has been suggested some possible future areas to be invested by JCM, such as renewable energies, and also cold chains, and also waste infrastructure. However, I would like to mention two things, which is mentioned by Paulina-san on directory. One is CCS for coal-fired power plant, and also one is hydrogen. Those two projects have not been set by JCM so far in worldwide. However, I think Thailand has some possibility to be improved or introduced for those two new areas. And we are very much looking forward to hear any proposal for those two new areas in CCS and hydrogen. And our ministry is very much interested in to provide assistance and also make it real for the project of two areas in near future by 2030. Thank you. Is it enough for your question?
Yes, thank you very much. You very much answered my question. And with that, sort of relating to that, I'd like to welcome Paulina-san, who you just, Paulina-san, are you online? She has a few questions that for the Ministry of the Environment Japan that I'd like to see if she can come on and share her questions directly. But if she is unable to join us at the moment, perhaps, perhaps I can, Paulina-san,
thank you very much. That's all my question. I think that Masuda-san answered the question.
Okay, thank you. So with that, perhaps sort of taking a thread that Masuda-san from the Ministry of the Environment just shared with us, perhaps I can welcome back, just a moment. Perhaps I can welcome back Dr. Raktikan to sort of share with us more about the hydrogen and CCUS projects or plans that she shared during her presentation. Maybe she could perhaps elaborate a little bit more on that and tell us a little bit more about what are the plans that are under consideration in Thailand right now.
Right now, we don't have the project on CCS or hydrogen, but we hope that from the support of Japanese government, as you mentioned in the slide, and also Masuda-san mentioned, that maybe in the future, the government of Japan may support the JCM project on hydrogen or CCS. So we hope that we can have advanced low carbon technology like that in our country and support the greenhouse gas emission reduction in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And if you could stay online, I actually have, we have one more question for you, Dr. Raktikan. You mentioned Carbon Neutrality Network and Climate Action Innovators. There are two programs or networks that are ongoing in Thailand right now. I listened with great interest about that. I think there might be some opportunities for sort of some synergy between companies or organizations that are interested in doing JCM and the members of the Carbon Neutrality Network. So I was wondering if there are any activities or events that are planned for the members of Carbon Neutrality Network or Climate Action Innovators Do you see any sort of a possibility for collaborations, or perhaps how Japanese companies or entities might reach out to them to sort of collaborate or sort of create synergy there?
For Thailand Carbon Neutral Network, we encourage companies and organizations to reduce their greenhouse gas emission. First by themselves, reduce by themselves, and if they cannot reduce by themselves, they can buy the credit, carbon credit, to offset their greenhouse gas emission. For the climate action leader organization, they have to have pathway to move to carbon neutrality or net zero greenhouse gas emission. But for climate innovator, they can there are some company that they reduce, they have much carbon credit, they reduce their greenhouse gas emission and also have excess carbon credit, so they can sell to other company to offset their greenhouse gas emission. For the activity, we don't set, they can implement or develop any kind of greenhouse gas emission reduction project, such as renewable energy or energy efficiency or waste management. Also include the carbon sink, such as reforestation project or afforestation project. They can implement all kinds of these activities and generate the carbon credit and use for offset or sell to other company.
Thank you very much for that answer. I think there's very interesting activities in Thailand happening right now. And perhaps we have time for one more question, since there was one question about hydrogen project under JCM. I think it was a question about, let me see, just quickly. Yes, there was a question. Someone asked, can you elaborate more on JCM criteria for H2 hydrogen application in transportation? So I'd like to take up on that question and ask Mr. Takahashi from Global Environment Center Foundation to quickly address that question. And you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Hydrogen is one of the areas we'd like to promote and accelerate. And this hydrogen is, as Kubo-san of GEC has already told us, it needs a supply chain. And if it is wasted already as a byproduct of the chemical factory or plant, it can be directly used as a new fuel or energy. So in the area of transportation, it can also be used as a new resource of energy. And so about the transportation field, it can be the vehicle or the other infrastructure. But one important point is to estimate the quantity of the reduction of carbon dioxide and track operation of the vehicle. So that is the point we need to be careful for monitoring the reduction of greenhouse gas, to track and quantitatively estimate the amount of the reduction of carbon dioxide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that answered some of the questions the audience had about hydrogen projects and so forth. And if you have additional questions that were not answered, you can always contact us, Global Environment Center Foundation, for clarification. And with that, we're moving on to session 3, JCM implementation in Thailand and neighboring countries. And for this session, we're welcoming questions as well. So please feel free to send us any questions, any comments through the Q&A feature on Zoom screen. So the first guest speaker is Ms. Yumi Akegami. She's from Information and Electronics Division of Inabata, with a presentation entitled 2.5 megawatt solar panel project with blockchain technology in Chiangmai University town community. So Ms. Akegami, you have the floor now.
Hello everyone, nice to meet you. I will share my screen. Could you see our screen?
Yeah, it's just fine.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to welcome you today. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Yumi Akegami from Inabata. I am in charge of Information and Electronics Division 3. Today, I would like to talk about 2.5 megawatt solar power project with blockchain technology in Chiangmai University in Thailand, which was adopted last year as a JCM Model Project. And thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present our renewable energy project. Here is agenda for today's presentation. First, I briefly introduce Inabata. After that, I'm going to talk about solar power projects under JCM scheme. And finally, I will show you the future plan in Chiangmai University. Then I would like to begin by introducing our company. Inabata Group was established in Kyoto in 1819 as an importer and seller of chemical things. Keeping the chemical business as its core activity, Inabata has brought over the expansion into such product areas as electronics materials, housing materials, and food. Today, Inabata Group operate more than 60 sites in 17 countries outside of Japan, and overseas sales account for over 15% of consolidated net sales. We set the environment and energy field as one of the key strategies of the midterm business plan in our company. I belong to Information and Electronics Division 3, and I am in charge of the renewable energy business. Next slide, I will explain the overall of our project. 2.5 solar power project with blockchain technology in Chiangmai University town community was adopted as a JCM model project in 2020. 2.5 solar power generation system will be installed on the roofs of multiple buildings in Chiangmai University, such as student dormitories and faculty buildings. And this project realized the green energy sharing within the university town by blockchain technology. This causes expansion and maximum utilization of renewable energy and reduce greenhouse gas on campus. Expected greenhouse gas emission is 1,041 tons CO2 in 1 year. The project site is Chiangmai University, which is located northern Thailand. And next slide shows the scheme of our project. Representative participant is Inabata, it's our company, and Thai Digital Energy Development is partner company. We formed an international consortium. The partner company, Thai Digital Energy Development, was established as a SPC for Smart City project of Chiangmai University. And I will talk about Chiangmai University Smart Campus Project in this slide. Chiangmai is selected one of 13 smart cities in Thailand, and this project is a part of Chiangmai Smart City Project. At first stage of Chiangmai Smart City Project, 12 megawatt solar power system is installed in Chiangmai University town, and 2.5 megawatt of 12 megawatt is subjected to JCM project. The contribution of 12 megawatt solar power installation by Thai Digital Energy Development is 40% in increasing clean energy portion comparing to university target, and 50% in CO2 reduction comparing to university target. The next slide shows the system configuration of this project. And solar panels and inverters and smart meters will be installed in rooftop of each building, such as the faculty building, research building, and office building within Chiang Mai University town. The university town divided into 3 zones. In the 3 zones, there are multiple buildings, and the number of buildings with solar panels are installed is about 160 buildings in 12 megawatt total project. About 9 megawatt has already been installed, as you can see from these photos in this slide. And the rest of 2.5 megawatt, which is subject to JCM project, will be installed within next year. And this slide shows how the energy management system works with blockchain technology and what people can do in Chiang Mai University community. When the owner of building equipped with solar power panels wants to sell green electricity generated from solar power system, because more green energy is generated than his demand, he can sell it as a token set on his own smartphone to people who want green electricity. Also, if people who have a solar power generation system, but that solar power generation system do not have enough power generation and want to buy green power, or people who cannot install solar panels but want to buy green power, they can buy token set on their own smartphone within university town community. Until now, the only way to install solar power system on the roof could only be done for the demand of under the roof, and the excess was discarded. Green energy sharing by blockchain technology can trade. I'm sorry. Green energy sharing by blockchain technology can trade green energy within community, realizes the expansion of the introduction of renewable energy and low-cost green power supply. From last month, the energy management system of 1 megawatt, which was already finished installed, has been starting operation. The left picture shows the actual system management screen of blockchain platform. And the dark green in the bar graph of the left picture means the electricity from grid. And the green one is renewable allocation. And the middle blue-green one means the peer-to-peer electricity. Now there is no storage scheme, but storage battery will be installed in the building, and it will be possible to increase the portion of peer-to-peer and renewable allocation. And the light graph shows the load consumption behavior of each building. We can monitor how much is load consumption in each building and the ratio of grid, peer-to-peer import and export, and solar self-consumption and excess. And this is the last slide in my presentation. I will talk about the future plan in the Chiang Mai University. This map shows one zone of Chiang Mai University town and where each building is. In this zone, each building installs solar power systems and almost realized virtual power plant and blockchain peer-to-peer. The next goal in this zone is establishing net zero carbon building. There is ERDI building at the bottom right of the map. ERDI building has installed solar power system and can be prosumer of green energy. For the next step, ERDI building will install 1.2 megawatt hour energy storage battery, storage surplus power from other buildings, and maximize the renewable energy use. In the end, they achieve the net zero carbon building. Storage energy in battery will be used for EV power, which runs in campus in the future. Lastly, starting with the introduction of solar power system, we will proceed with the smart campus project. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Akigami, for sharing with us the project at the Chiangmai University. Our next guest speaker is Mr. Go Takei. He's a managing director at NSOG Energy Solutions Thailand, with a presentation entitled Efficiency Improvement of Cogeneration System by Installation of Heat Exchanging Fiber Factory. So with that, Mr. Takei, you have the floor.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for your introduction. So I would like to start my presentation. So can you see my screen at this moment?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Wait a moment. Okay, so let me start my presentation. First of all, so my name is Go Takei. I am a managing director of NSOG Energy Solutions Thailand, NSET. Today, I want to make a presentation for the JCM project in 2019. In this project, we installed a heat exchanger in the cogeneration system in order to improve efficiency of cogeneration. First of all, so I want to introduce our company, NSOG Energy Solutions Thailand, NSET. NS stands for Nippon Steel, and OG stands for Osaka Gas. We are a joint invested company of Nippon Steel Engineering and Osaka Gas Singapore. So we are established 9 years ago, and now so we are operating gas turbine or gas engine cogeneration boilers and chillers for the customers such as Honda, Toray, Yokohama Rubber, Honda Gang, and Spiber. And so now we're operating this facility in order to supply heat and power to these factories. And this JCM project is done in the premises of Toray Textile Thailand. Toray Mill 2 factory is located in Samut Prakan in Thailand. In the Toray factory, we are operating 7 megawatt gas turbine cogeneration in order to supply electric power and steam to their factory. In this JCM project, we additionally install heat exchanger in our existing gas turbine cogeneration. This project is done with Nippon Steel Engineering, who is a technology provider. In Toray's factory, we are operating a 7 megawatt gas turbine cogeneration. We've designed, constructed, owned, operated, maintained cogeneration facility in the premises of Toray. We've done everything about cogeneration, including EPC, funding, fuel procurement. We supplied energy to Toray factories and also sells surplus electric power to MOEJ under the VSPP scheme. This is our photo of 7 megawatt gas turbine cogeneration for TTT. We constructed this facility in the area of 900 square meters. The capacity of power production is 6,700 kilowatt. Steam production capacity is 41 tons per hour. And it's original overall plant efficiency is 91%, which is among the highest efficiency in cogeneration. Since the cogeneration is highly efficient, so we've achieved high PS of 25%. Primary energy saving PS is an indicator used in Thailand to evaluate the efficiency of cogeneration. This PS implies this plant reduced primary energy by 25% compared to the boiler, of which efficiency of is 85%, and the gas turbine combined cycle, of which efficiency is 45%. And this plant can contribute more to primary energy saving rather than highly efficient boiler or advanced gas turbine combined cycle plant. In fact, we've reduced carbon emission by 13,000 tons per year after installing cogeneration. Also, we've proved that we contributed to stable production of the factory by continuous power supply at the occasion of power grid trouble. So therefore, we reduced CO2, we contributed to the stable production of the factory. So that's why, this plant were awarded Cogen Award, 2018 in Japan. Okay, and in this slide, I'm showing schematic process flow. Basically, this cogeneration plant consists mainly of a gas turbine and heat recovery steam generator equipped with a duct burner. In order to achieve high efficiency of the plant, heat recovery steam generator is key because cogeneration is a technology to make the maximum use of waste heat. And to be honest, we cannot control gas turbine efficiency, but we can control efficiency of HRSG. So that's why we designed heat recovery steam generator in order to fulfill a high steam demand of 41 tons per hour and achieve a high boiler efficiency. In this JCM project, we modified this heat recovery steam generator. To be specific, we installed additional heat exchanger in between economizer and stack. Next slide shows a schematic illustration of the project. As I said, we installed heat exchanger. We planned to make the maximum use of gas turbine waste heat in the exhaust gas of gas turbine in order to heat up boiler feed water. So that's why after heat hex installation, basically we can confirm the reduction of temperature of exhaust gas, and we increased feed water temp. And then next slide shows a summary of the result. X-axis represents gas consumption in duct burner. Y-axis represents steam production amount. And this light blue rectangle shows hourly data before hex installation. And this dark blue circle shows the data after hex installation. In this graph, you can see the regression line has become steeper after hex installation. technically speaking, the slope of relation line corresponds to boiler efficiency. Therefore, so in this graph, you can see boiler efficiency was increased by more than 10% after hex installation. And this is the final slide. And as I said, we improved the boiler efficiency. That's why we also proved that overall plant efficiency has increased. And also PES value was improved. And as a result, this plant has become probably most efficient cogeneration plant in Thailand. In conclusion, in this project, we additionally installed a heat exchanger in the existing cogeneration. And as a result, so we improved boiler efficiency by more than 10%. And this plant has become probably most efficient cogeneration plant in Thailand. So I believe cogeneration is still a practical energy saving solution for large customers. So that's why large steam users, and thus we hope the cogeneration will be promoted in Thailand. Yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Takei, for showing and introducing us your project, JCM project. Our next guest speaker is Mr. Masaru Ishikawa. I'm sorry about that. He's the Acting General Manager, International Environment Department, Consulting Operation Headquarters at Nippon Koei, with the presentation entitled Support for the Realization of Zero Carbon Society to Achieve Thailand 4.0, City-to-City Collaboration between Osaka City and Eastern Economic Corridor, Bangkok. So with that, Mr. Ishikawa, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so please one minute. Sorry. Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Sawadee. I'm Ishikawa of Nippon Koei, Japanese consultant and team leader of the city-to-city collaboration between EEC and Osaka City government. I'm very happy to make a presentation of our project today. First of all, so I would like to share outline of our company, Nippon Koei. Our company has established in 1946 and expanded business field not only inside Japan, but also all over the world. So Nippon Koei is one of the biggest consulting firms in Japan in terms of annual sales and the number of employees. And of course, we have branch office in Bangkok metropolitan. Since 2015, our company has joined city-to-city collaboration scheme. Then so far, we have collaborated with several Japanese cities, such as Yokohama City, Osaka City, Toyama City, Fukuoka City, and Fukuoka Prefecture. Currently, this year, we are conducting 6 city-to-city collaboration projects, including EEC Osaka. Before I move to explanation of our collaboration, I have to explain the Osaka City government, which is a partner city of EEC. Osaka City is located western part of Japan and the third largest city following Tokyo and Yokohama. Currently, Osaka City is preparing for the international event, Osaka Expo 2025. That is why there are various developments ongoing in Osaka in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic. As you know well, Eastern Economic Corridor is not city. However, the EEC Secretariat agree with the city-to-city collaboration concept. So since 2019, our collaboration has started. Please check the table in the center. Population of two cities is almost same, but the city area population, city area and the nominal GDP is a big difference. However, I can say both Osaka and EEC is an influential city for national economy. As I explained, since 2019, EEC and Osaka City has started the city-to-city collaboration. This project aims to enhance the realization of the decarbonization city. Unfortunately, after commencement of this project, we are facing COVID-19 pandemic. So our activities are restricted mostly. However, so far, we have implemented the following activities. Before the pandemic, EEC staff has traveled to Japan and participated in JCM seminar and a meeting with a Japanese company. And also, Osaka City staff traveled to Thailand, and they had a face-to-face meeting to exchange the opinion with the EEC members. Based on the project needs requirement in EEC, Osaka City has introduced a Japanese company who has useful technology, experience, and knowledge. And if necessary, we Nippon Koei has supported data collection, market research, and project formulation on JCM subsidy application. This slide shows the implementation structure of city-to-city collaboration. Basically, city-to-city collaboration project consists of two parts. One for the collaboration between two cities, and another one for the JCM project formulation. As for the collaboration with two cities, we Nippon Koei supported the discussion, exchange of experience of the both city and the other setting up the meeting as well. This year, Osaka City and Nippon Koei are planning to conduct the following menu. Number one, in order to create a zero carbon society, Osaka City operate platform among private companies, so-called Team Osaka Network. With this network, Osaka City has shared the information of private company, which has zero carbon technology and or knowledge. And also, if case of the necessary, Osaka City introduced the company to respond EEC requirement. And the next one, number two is sharing Osaka knowledge. As I explained, Osaka City is one of the biggest city in Japan, and Osaka has various environment knowledge experience. So this year, Osaka City will share it to EEC Secretariat. And also number three is decarbonization domino. Currently, Ministry of Environment Japan, MOEJ, has been promoting decarbonization domino, which is decarbonization approach from big city to small, medium cities in Japan, step by step. Then, with this approach, Japan will aim to achieve carbon neutral society by 2050. This approach is very effective approach, not only Japan, but also Thailand. Therefore, in this city-to-city collaboration, we would like to share and spread this movement in Thailand. Lastly, number 4 and number 5, we would like to share also the know-how of the SDGs activity to EEC members. With the above menu from 1 to number 5, we would like to tackle with the countermeasure of the COVID-19 pandemic as a result. Okay, number 7. Okay, from this slide, I'd like to share the information on support of the JCM project formulation. We Nippon Koei has supported Japanese and Thai private companies how to apply to the JCM subsidy scheme. This city-to-city collaboration is one of the big projects. So there are many companies join in order to promote their own business in Thailand. Accordingly, we are supporting decarbonization in Thailand through JCM project formulation. Okay, as for the JCM project formulation, it could say that we support B2B project with Japanese subsidy application. For the support, there are 3 steps. Step 1, understanding the current situation. Firstly, we confirm business plan and discuss with the company to apply to the JCM scheme. Then we consider necessary activity to be taken. Then step 2, consultation. After identification of the activity, we have a consultation with the Thai and Japanese companies. In case we explain the JCM scheme, detailed explanation, and the readiness of the subsidy application. Then, if necessary, the project will introduce proper company entity who is effective role to be played in the JCM project. We like to explain. We like to introduce. Then, lastly, step 3, JCM support. Finally, we conduct the support of the JCM subsidy application and consider best approach to Thai and the Japanese companies. Because JCM subsidy scheme must satisfy with some condition, such as the international consortium must involve Japanese entity as a representative of the consortium and so on. This city-to-city collaboration is supporting various projects. One project contributes to conversion from coal to natural gas. One project contributes to biogas refinery. One project aims to promote electric vehicle EV with the renewable energy power. One project aims for the creating value added for the smart city or other development in EC area. In order to formulate JCM model project, our city-to-city collaboration has implemented various activities. Okay, for your reference, I'd like to share JCM model project, which has already selected this year and supported by our project. Project title is Introduction of the High Efficiency One-Through Boiler to Garment Factory. Representative of the project is the Osaka Gas Company. Osaka Gas is one of the biggest gas utility company in Japan. This project aims to save energy consumption by replacing boiler type from water tube type to the one-through boiler type. And also the project convert fuel type from coal to natural gas. Accordingly, this project will reduce approximate 2,600 tons CO2 per year. In Thailand, there are big potential of fuel conversion projects. So our city-to-city collaboration project will support Osaka Gas to create similar projects more in the future. This is the last slide. Our project has just commenced last month and will be terminated in the end of the February next year. We have limited time and we are still facing the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we have good cooperation with Osaka City Government, EEC Secretariat, and the Thai and the Japanese private company. And that's why with good relationship, we are going to accomplish as many achievements as possible we can. If you are interested in our collaboration project, please contact with us. We are looking forward to working with you. Thank you for your attention. Kopunka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ishikawa, for that presentation. And we have a last speaker for this section of the webinar. I'd like to introduce Mr. Jun Harata. He's Assistant Energy Consulting Manager, Customer Service and Sales Department at Chubu Electric Power MOEJ, with a presentation entitled Development of Compressor Optimized Operation Service Utilizing IoT and Launch of the Demonstration Project in Kingdom of Thailand. So with that, Mr. Harata, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm showing this slide. Wait a minute. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Jun Halata, and I work for Chuba Electric Power Analyzer, and which is one of the major electric power company in Japan. And I'm in charge of energy consulting for our customers in Japan and also overseas. And thank you for precious opportunity to speak today. We have limited time today, so I'd like to get started right away. Okay, first, we applied for a co-innovation project, which is open to the public from JEC in 2019. This project is postponed because of COVID-19. And so the project was completed in 2019 and 2020. First, let me give you an overview of our company. Chuba Electric Power Analyzer is an electric power company, like I told you, located in Chuba region of Japan. The company was spun off in April 2020 as part of Japanese electricity reform. And Milaizu is our company. That is a company. Our business are electricity and gas business and heat supply and also energy consulting and so on. And here is our company, sales companies. And here is an overview of the project. And this project is a renovation and demonstration evaluation of devices necessary to develop IoT-based compressor optimization population services in Thailand, which have been proven track record in Japan. So renovated IoT devices will be installed in the compressor of the factories, and the operation status will be uploaded to the cloud for analysis in Japan. The project will not only save energy and reduce CO2 emission, but also improve the energy saving capabilities of facility manager. Okay, next slide. This slide shows a demonstration site. The installation of the measurement devices was carried out between January and October 2020. The following points were taken into consideration when selecting the demonstration site. At first, select the site in the vicinity in Bangkok, like within a distance of about 3 hours each way. And second, the site will be as far away as possible in order to test the communication environment in Thailand. And here is a demonstration site, number 1 to number 9. And here's a general flow of demonstrations. At first, selection of demonstration sites. And next, installation of measurement equipment. We install measurement equipment as a demonstration sites and start monitoring from Japan. And next, effect calculation. We analyze the data uploaded to the cloud and propose to our customer remotely from Japan. And next, if an effect can be expected, we do the tuning on the end on the job training. Optimal tuning of compressor is carried out as a demonstration site. And we also provided OJT training to facility managers on energy conservation for compressors. And finally, we will verify the effectiveness of the tuning after the demonstration. And this is a device required for the measurements of this project. As you can see, these photos, MMCB Plus number 1, this device is a measurement device to be renovated in this project, and it enables remote analysis by measuring data every second and uploading to the cloud. And number 2 is a current sensor, and number 3 is a pressure sensor, and number 4 is the shim and the other wiring, and that's all. And you can see these photos. Here is installation of the measurement devices. And the current sensor here, the current sensor is installed in the compressor power panel like this. And the pressure sensor is installed in the air tank and also air header like this. And these photos shows the installation work completed. The next slide. Using the measurement devices, we analyze the data and propose improvement points for energy conservation. Here is an example. The above figure shows the transition of the power value of compressor like this. This yellow line, number 4 compressor, you can see that it frequently repeats loading and unloading state frequently. The definition of loading is 100% operation. On the other hand, unloading means like idling state that does not discharge air, but consumes about 40% of the power. The unloading is to adjust the load, but if it occurs too frequently, more power is wasted. And also this orange line, compressor number 8, is also constantly unloading, resulting in a wasteful operating state. And you can see the bottom figure. The bottom figure shows the pressure trend. The blue line is higher than the other pressure line, and it frequently goes up and down repeatedly. If the pressure is unnecessarily high, energy can be saved by reducing the pressure. Okay. So this is the outline. This slide shows a result of verification at 7 demonstration sites. The improvement effect varies depending on the compressor capacity, type, and operating condition. But on average, we expected a reduction of 67,650 kilowatts per year and 38.29 ton CO2 per year per measurement device. This is the outline of the demonstration. The 3 main goals of the demonstration are as follows. The first is to realize inexpensive remote maintenance from Japan through the device modifications. The first is to specifically the hardware was modified and 20 prototypes were manufactured and measurements were started. As a result, a remote maintenance system was realized at 7 demonstration sites. And second, dealing with unstable communication environment through software modification. We conducted our software modification and a communication evaluation utilizing the local SIM and SIM for remote maintenance. As a result, a stabilization evaluation was conducted and long-term data loss occurred. Improvement measures were taken and an error rate of less than 5% was achieved. The third, improving facility managers' ability to save energy related to compressors. When the effect of operational improvement was expected, tuning of the optimal operation was conducted. OJT training was conducted in conjunction with tuning at the 2 demonstration sites. Finally, here is issues and measures of this project. We've overcome some challenges. For example, in 2020 project, the data loss occurred for a long time period of time. We managed this trouble by creating a follow-up improvement follow-up chart and aiding our email notification function. The challenges throughout the project were installation of measurement equipment on site, and also automation of data analysis and remote tuning. Based on the result, we estimated the effect of applying to about 6,000 factories designated by the energy conservation law in Thailand would be a reduction of about 459,000 tons CO2 per year, which could have a significant impact in industry in Thailand. We will continue to support energy conservation in Thailand and accelerate activities for decarbonization. Okay, that's all for my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harata, for the very comprehensive introduction and for sharing the project for the Co-Innovation Project 2019. So I'd like to thank all the speakers who presented during this session, and thank still the audience who sent us questions. I think they're mostly answered on the Q&A feature. Just one thing that I wanted to share with everyone is that the video for this webinar, as well as the documents or the presentation material, will be available on our website within a week or so. So if you need access to it, please check back on our website later. So with that, I'd like to move on to the Q&A session, and I'd like to welcome some of the presenters for this session for some additional clarification and some questions. I'd like to ask first Mr. Takei from NSOG Energy Solutions Thailand. I'd like to ask if there are any future plans or any future project plans using that same technology that you introduced in Thailand or perhaps any neighboring countries. So please address that question for us, please.
Okay, so let me answer your question directly first. Basically, if you consume a lot of steam in your factory, maybe cogeneration might be a good solution, energy saving solutions for you. And to be specific, if you produce, for example, rubber like Yokohama, or so if you have fermentation process like fiber, and if you produce a fiber like Toray, basically you may have a process to consume steam. So if you consume a lot of steam, cogeneration might be a good solution. And this is because, as I said in the presentation, cogeneration is a technology to make the maximum use of waste heat from gas turbine and gas engine. And if you heard gas engine, gas turbine, you may think this is generator, but it's not. Cogeneration is technology of heat utilization. So that's why, yeah, if you have if you find a large steam consumer, maybe you may be our good collaborator to reduce carbon emission in Thailand.
Thank you very much for addressing that question. Thank you very much. I'd like to next welcome back Mr. Ishikawa from Nippon Koei. I wanted to ask just a moment. So just a moment. I'm just reviewing the questions that we have for you.
Yep.
I think it'll be interesting for our audience to hear any sort of important points, notes, suggestions. I think especially your company has a lot of experience supporting other companies formulate JCM projects as well. So maybe you can perhaps share some lessons learned or experiences that perhaps interesting for our audience today.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Yamaguchi-san. There are several points to be taken care of the project selection and formulation, JCM project formulation. Right now, so maybe I can say the 3 points. First one is whether the company has a business network and also ability, especially in the Thailand. If they don't have any network and connection with the Thai company, maybe it's very difficult. Sustainability, I mean. And the second one is the technology can contribute to the government policy and zero carbon, the plan. Yes, that is the second point. And also, this is not selection to apply to the JCM scheme. We take care of the cost effectiveness value. It's very important. Sometimes we we found the good project, but however, slightly difficult to apply JCM scheme due to the low cost effectiveness. Firstly, we check the 3 points. That's all. Is it okay?
Yes, thank you very much. I think it was a very valuable information for our audience today. Next, I'd like to welcome back Mr. Harata from Chuba Electric Power Miraizu. I'd like to ask if is there any plan to take this co-innovation project into a full JCM project in the future, or any future plans for that co-innovation project?
Thank you for question. I will answer it. I think there is a possibility that we can organize our JCM project, but now we have a plan to proceed with it other business that can be expanded in Thailand first.
Thank you very much for that answer. And since we have a little more time, I'd like to also welcome back Ms. Akigami from Inabata for another question. I'm wondering, since with this ongoing, now almost 2-year-old COVID-19 crisis, perhaps our audience will find it interesting to hear from you. So what are some of the challenges and perhaps some of the solutions that you are utilizing to move your project forward?
Yes, our project was adopted last year. So actually, I never go to Thailand and Chiangmai. I never have been there, but my company has the Thailand branch. So the Thai staff and Japanese staff in Thailand branch in my company did much support for us. And yes, we and our partner company has many online conference to proceed this project to JCM application. So the Zoom is a very technical way to achieve this project, I think. Yes.
Thank you very much for that, for sharing your insight. Yes, indeed. I think we can always come up with new solutions to sort of address challenges in difficult times, such as what we are actually doing right now is to have an online webinar. We used to have these in-person events, but thanks to all new technologies, we can still have these events and give you the most updated information on JCM on close to not in person, but on live as a live event. So I think I'll conclude the Q&A session. And again, if there are any questions that were not answered today, please do not hesitate to contact us, Global Environment Center Foundation, anytime through the email. We welcome any questions, any clarifications. We are always open to questions and your comments and thoughts. So. And with that, before we move on to the closing remarks, our colleague will be posting a URL to the questionnaire that I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar. This is so that we can hear directly from you about today's webinar, today's event, or the presentations. So please take a moment to answer the questionnaire when you leave this webinar event. So with that, I'm going to introduce our last guest speaker, Mr. Yuji Kimura. He is an Executive Director, Head of Office Tokyo at Global Environment Center Foundation for the closing remarks. So Mr. Kimura, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much for your kind introduction. On behalf of the organizers, I'd like to say a few words as a closing address. First, we deeply appreciate all of you for participating in today's webinar. We are also very grateful for the kind cooperation by Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment of Thailand and Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, or TGO. Without your cooperation, we could not have held this webinar successfully. We have been holding JCM seminars continuously in Thailand for several years to create an opportunity for people in Thailand to learn and deepen their understanding about the JCM financing program. This year, we chose innovation for carbon neutrality through JCM as the main theme of the seminar because of the recent rapid developments towards carbon neutral society worldwide, including Thailand and Japan. Due to the influence of coronavirus following the last year, we held the seminar in a webinar format, but thanks to you, we were able to have many more participants than expected today. To wrap up today's presentations, in the session 1, we had special speeches from Mr. Terai, Embassy of Japan, and Mr. Kiachai Maitribon from TGO, addressing the importance and further development of JCM as a tool of contributing to GHG emission reduction, as well as sustainable development in Thailand. In the session 2, we had a presentation about recent development of the JCM from Mr. Masuda, Ministry of the Environment, Japan, stressing the possibility for further promotion of JCM in Thailand. And in response to it, Dr. Patipal Rotfikun, PGO, explained Thailand's policy for carbon neutrality and expectations for JCM, highlighting the framework of National Energy Plan and carbon neutrality scenario, which aims to move Thailand toward a carbon neutrality in the year 2065 to 2070. I hope JCM will play an important role in achieving it. From Global Environment Center Foundation, Mr. Takahashi and Ms. Aoyama presented updates on JCM financing program and JCM Global Match. In addition, Mr. Kubo introduced co-innovation program as well as pilot project for hydrogen supply chain, which was newly started this fiscal year. And in the session 3, we had presentations from 4 corporations which are promoting JCM-related activities. JCM aims to introduce advanced low-carbon or carbon-free technologies. Today's presentation gave us concrete examples of successful application or possible application of those technologies in JCM. Ms. Akegami from Inabata introduced the JCM project, which realizes expansion and maximum utilization of renewable energy by blockchain technology to promote smart campus of Chiangmai University. I hope this idea will lead to larger scale activities for smart cities. Mr. Takei, NSOG Energy Solutions, Thailand, explained another JCM project which utilizes unused thermal energy to further enhance the energy efficiency of the previously introduced cogeneration system. On-site energy service is also a unique point of this project. Mr. Harata, Tube Electric Power Mirais, introduced a renovation and demonstration project for optimizing compressor operation and enhancing energy efficiency by monitoring it through an IoT-based measurement system. I think this is a good practice of the co-innovation program. In promoting JCM, city-to-city collaboration and policy formulation through it is quite promising. Mr. Ishikawa, Nippon Koei, explained the collaboration between Osaka City in Japan and Eastern Economic Corridor, or EEC, in Thailand, which includes knowledge sharing of zero carbon policy making, as well as information of JCM model projects by various entities related to Osaka City and EEC. I think this type of collaboration is very effective and should be further developed. After we had today's presentations, we believe that through cooperation with various related organizations, the JCM financing program can contribute to GHG emission reduction, as well as sustainable economic development in this region. In addition, continuous innovation is required for realizing a decarbonized society, and JCM financing program is a crucial tool that supports such innovation. We look forward to receiving your proposal. We are planning to hold webinars for other partner countries, so we would appreciate it if you could join us again. Finally, I'd like to thank all speakers and viewers again. Thank you very much, and Kopken Krap.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimura, for succinctly summarizing today's event. And with that, we come to the end of this webinar. I'd like to thank all the speakers again for the great presentations, and most of all, thank you for our audience to participating in our webinar today. We certainly hope it was informational as well as insightful for you. We would also like to thank the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment of Thailand, Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, as well as the Ministry of the Environment Japan for co-organizing today's event. Please take a moment to answer the questionnaire before you leave. We'll very much appreciate it. And thank you again for joining us today. And we hope to see you again soon. And thanks again and good evening.